truth, no matter how painful it might be, and no BS. Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith, Citizen Smith.
Here's a man who would not take it anymore. A man who stood up against the scum, the dogs, the filth. Here is someone who stood up.
It's time for Citizen Smith.
Good morning, everybody. Citizen Smith here, Podcast PDX. Talking a little bit about the Olympics, of course, to start the show. I was going to wait for the Simone Biles balance beam competition in prime time today to surprise myself, but cat's out of the bag. She won a bronze medal to finish the final competition of the gymnastics.
I'm sorry.
Good job.
I'm sorry I ruined it for you.
She seems very happy to be cheering in the stands and happy with her bronze. I never seen a more joyous person who quit the entire Olympics. I don't know what's going on. Is she just putting on a facade, or is she really happy?
So stoked to have third place.
And to have quit.
Yep.
People are pro and con with her. Some are coddling her decision. Some are more austere with their comments and criticism. One such person would be Henry Cejudo, UFC flyweight and bantamweight champion, also an Olympian wrestler from 2008, where he won the gold medal, I believe. Anyway, he said, quote, people say about Simone, he said, I believe Simone Biles pulling out of this thing is like, I think she really needs to check herself. He said in a video posted on Twitter. I think there's a time for a little bit of tough love. She was my sister. This is exactly what I would do. So I would never say something that I wouldn't do to my personal family or anything like that, or even for me, because I do believe sometimes we do need a nice kick in the arse.
He actually said that, kick in the arse.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
So I think he's right on. Come on, let's not call this what it is and isn't. It's a situation where, you know, she wants to call herself the greatest of all time. You can't do that if you don't perform and rise to the occasion of pressure. If you want to be the GOAT, you got to get out there and put yourself on the line. And she didn't do that. So after the Olympics, she's supposed to start this 35-city exhibition, the Simone Biles gymnastic exhibition. Is anybody going to show up? Or is she going to continue? Is she going to have the exhibition? I suppose she will, and people will still show. But this Olympics will tarnish her name, and it would be a part of her legacy.
Think about it, though. People even came out to see Tanya Harding box other people.
Yeah.
I mean, Americans will go out there and see it.
So that rounds out the gymnastics drama of the Olympics. What should have been all about the gals going out there and doing their thing ended up being a melodramatic Simone Biles story for the entire Olympics, which kind of cheated the young ladies out of their glory. Nonetheless, some of them did perform to their highest level and did well at it. Congratulations to most of the team, including Jade Carey, who won the the floor exercise gold medal, which I watched yesterday in prime time. Her father's her coach. I was really happy to see that. It was exciting. And nice to see a girl like that who's put in so much time finally get in. She said she could have been on the team competition, but Simone Biles took that place. If Simone Biles wasn't there, she would have been on the team competition. So she had to step aside, and then essentially we had nobody to replace her. Simone Biles took that place, and when she quit, nobody was there to step in and participate in the team competition in her place, which people overlooked that fact, but we did get the silver. Sun Lee, who won the overall gold, I found this interesting. She was commenting that when she came back for the uneven bars, she got the bronze medal, and she blamed it on spending too much time on social media. So this is a time and place of the new generation of athletes that their focus can be taken away from what they're actually supposed to be doing, and self-admittedly so. The 18-year-old says she was unhappy with the results, saying she was sad to, quote, mess it up like this. So she's being very self-critical. Spending time on TikTok and Twitter, where she has 1 million fans. How does that distract you so much, though? So
You can burn 30 minutes looking at TikTok and not even know it.
Instagram alone, she added, has nearly 1 million followers. Twitter and TikTok accounts, similar surges, it said in this article. I'll probably cool down a little bit and just focus on what I need to do, especially because we're coming to the end. She said, well, why didn't she do that at the end? They're capitalizing on their notoriety when they win. You need a coach stepping in, saying, hey, nobody uses social media accounts during the Olympics. I guess we're in a day and age where the Olympians themselves and the athletes dictate, not the coach. If you're not on TikTok, if you're not on Instagram, if you're not on Twitter, you don't exist anymore in this world.
Yeah, I mean, her TikTok, 1.1 million right now. And this is what you get. This is what you're getting on the TikTok here. I mean,
are you playing that? Is that going on? Oh, you're showing that on the...
Yeah. Well, it's like, this is what you get. I mean, it's just her doing stupid little videos, you know.
That's her?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's her at the Olympics doing it. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're just getting these little clips of her panning at the camera, smooching the camera.
Welcome to the new day and age of...
There you go.
Olympians in the day and age of social media. It distracts them from their performance. It's more important to them. They make money from it. They build notoriety. Oh, remember the days when there was no social media and Olympic athletes strictly performed? The coach hugged them. The coach dictated what was going on, and nobody was around to distract them, especially social media outlets. So when do you step in as a coach and say, you know, that's a no-no. I don't want to see anybody on social media, no Instagrams. When the games are over, do your thing. But while you're here, none of this is going to go on. There's been a lapse in coaching discipline here as well as athletic discipline. I like Caleb Dressel.
Caleb Dressel.
No, I was going to screw that up. 24 years old. Wins 5 gold medals in swimming, which is a hell of a performance.
It's amazing.
I don't know if he was on social media. Maybe more disciplined.
Yeah, he's more disciplined, I think.
And when they did the interview, I didn't see it, but my friend was telling me when he did the interview, when it was finally over and he won his last one, and they were like, hey, how's the Olympic? I don't want to talk about swimming anymore. I'm beat. You know what? I'm moving on. I've been in this quarantine situation. I'm just...
Talk to me next year.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go have, something to eat. I'm really hungry. And they walked away.
That sounds like a typical swimmer.
But I love that, and just kind of told it the way it was. And won his 5 gold medals. He said he did what he came here to do, and now he's ready to move on. Nauson speed skater Eric Heiden and the swimmers Mark Spitz, Matt Biondi, and Michael Phelps have anybody won 5 gold medals. Greatest Olympians in Summer Olympic history in America. Congratulations to him. So there we go. The Olympics is winding down. I was watching a little bit of the long distance racing yesterday, and that's always exciting.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah, and the steeple running.
Chase is
that
so
is
cool.
a hard.
Damn. I can't get over how hard that is.
And I can't imagine. It's just pain. That's like a pain sport. I don't. I would never do it. It's just like sucking it up, running till you drop at the end and having to jump over. It's just like the most arduous, painful race.
What about the gal from the Netherlands?
What about her?
The one that fell down and then ran and won the race to qualify. And then she ran the final last night. Was it like the 5,000 meters or some crazy distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in the back of the pack. Came all the way back.
What was her?
Hassan. Hassan. Her last name's Hassan from the Netherlands.
Yes, and that was a great race.
And she won the gold last night. It was so awesome.
And then we had the 400-meter hurdles by the other guy from, I think he was from the Netherlands.
Benjamin, I think his name is.
Yeah.
We're terrible.
Karsten Warholm.
Oh, yeah, from Norway.
Yeah. What a race that guy. They call him the Viking.
Oh, my God. He ran like a Viking.
45.94 seconds. The announcers was like, that's impossible. The world record. Nobody could break 46. This wasn't feasible to be done. They were like, he's running a 400-meter hurdle like it was just the 400 meters.
Yeah, it was pretty fast.
And he had a great interview afterwards. He was just like, I came out here, I knew I could do it, and I did it. Ripped his shirt off at the end. Fantastic race.
It was just, it was kind of, you thought that the guy from the U.S. was going to catch him. You almost thought he was going to catch him, but that guy was full bore afterburners the whole way. I've never seen anybody run so fast in the hurdles.
Rai Benjamin of the U.S. came in second place. What a friggin' race. Oppressive weather, humid. The guy came out and performed it at the highest level. Best race of the Olympics. If you didn't see it, try to catch it on YouTube or something, because that was one where, you don't really watch the 400-meter hurdles until you see it in the Olympics. And boy, what a performance. 25 years old. Benjamin's 24. Fantastic. That's what the Olympics is all about right there. I was so happy for that guy. That was outstanding. So what's left? We've got the men's basketball, which I want to see the U.S. team win the gold medal. Everybody's, down on the team because they've been underperforming, but they're getting their feet under them. I think we have a chance.
Would I catch them at halftime yesterday, and it was tied? I'm like, why is it tied? I mean, come on.
So what was the U.S. team's? I was going to watch it, but it wasn't going to be till late at night. And so, how'd the U.S. team do yesterday? Did you see that?
I have not. I've just been not following basketball.
Why not?
I don't like basketball.
Oh well, all right.
I don't like it. I'm sorry, but I guess I believe yesterday they
defeated Spain. All right, thank God.
Yeah, 95-81. Still not enough points for me. Come on,
I'll just take a victory at this point in the game.
No doubt.
So anyway, I'm into watching the Olympic basketball team because everybody's thinking they can be upset, but I suggest that they won't be upset and they will win the gold. So we got the basketball. Hey, I was watching the canoeing yesterday and the kayaking.
Yeah, the
that
canoeing
was exciting
and kayaking.
too.
That was one of my favorite events to watch. It was unbelievably cool.
There's another one you don't watch until the Olympics, and again the Netherlands dominating, and just the amount of effort. I love watching the women. Man, they are fast.
I just think it's cool the difference, that they have canoeing and kayaking, the paddling sports.
Yeah,
in there. It's so cool.
And it was a fantastic race. Boy, they really put everything into it. Team Netherlands, what a fantastic! I never realized the Netherlands was so dominant until I watched the Olympics.
My wife,
something's going on in that country.
My wife asked me, how do they, do the start? Is there like something to hold them there and all this stuff? And I looked it up, and it's part of the sport is holding yourself in place at the starting line. Whether it be canoeing, which is, steering with the paddles, or kayaking, which they have a little rudder. But yeah, they got to hold themselves in place for that start and then go that fast. Just drives me crazy.
They had that, again, I'm trying to find her name. I try to memorize all these things, but I don't do a very good job. The Netherlands woman there that she's like in multiple events. She goes out, wins the gold, and she comes back and then wins another gold like a half hour later. She's really physically unbelievable. And I don't have her name in front of me. Netherlands.
You're funny.
Women's gold rowing.
Today on Google search with Citizen Smith.
Well, there's so much going on. I'm watching these on multiple channels. and trying to, watch everything I can. I'm like going crazy trying to track everything, and it's hard to catch it all. And then you see these athletes you've never heard of until they finally are in the Olympics, and you're like,
Right,
wow,
right.
an incredible
You're like, wow.
athlete that person is.
So you're saying this gal's in the canoe and kayak stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
And anyway, I love all this stuff. Fantastic to watch the Olympics. I think they did a great job this year, despite the lack of fans. Really, everything went off without a hitch.
yeah,
Tokyo
they did pretty
stepped
good.
up.
They did pretty good.
You expect that of the Japanese. Efficient.
Yeah, they're one of the best at putting those things together. So
that's my Olympic summary for today.
I was trying to find the name of the gal that you were talking about, because I know there was a gal from New Zealand too that was real good as
All right,
well.
this is how you do it. I'm just going to go in Netherlands women's gold medal winner
a freaky deaky Dutch.
of kayaks, I believe. They have these. The one team fell over in the at the very end in their kayaks, which I was, was like, oh, she's they were like 2 feet away from the finish line, and the boat fell in the water.
I missed that. Damn,
you did.
That's like missing the car wreck during NASCAR. Darn it.
Yeah, the gal's name is Lisa Carrington. What a kayaker! Double 500 in a single kayak 200. She won gold. What a
nice.
Talk about top performer. This woman, buff, stepped up to the game. Beautiful. When she wins, she's very classy. And just another example of an Olympian performing the way they should be, with class and overcoming the pain and suffering and dominating the sport as she did. Fantastic. All right, let's go on to some politics now, or issues, I should say. I was talking to my buddy the other day. His name's Pete. I'll leave it at that. He knows politics in Portland. He told me everybody keeps mentioning Bud Clark, the mayor of Portland, and how I should get him on the show. If I could find him, I will.
Former mayor.
Yeah, and he ran for mayor in 1984, won the primary and then the election. And everybody keeps referring back to him about a mayor that really was enigmatic, not enigmatic, but just a personality.
Stood out.
Yeah, he did the flashing photo. Remember, I brought it up.
Yeah.
He was one of the with the famous photographer, and I really want to get a hold of this guy. He sounds like a fascinating man to talk. I'd like to get his perspective on the city today. I'd like to get the old guards and politicians of Portland to talk about what they think of the city today. That's what somebody suggested that I do, and I think that's a great idea. And he'd be like one of the top people I would love to speak with about what their perspective is on today's politics, the state of the city. He did a lot of innovative stuff. He came up with a 12-point homeless plan. I wonder whatever happened to that. Do they still utilize it at all? Supported the growth of the mass transit, which is big today, including the Max Light rail line to Gresham, aided downtown development, and initiated and led the campaign to build the Oregon Convention Center. This guy was involved in essentially what we see today of the higher points of Portland, the greater features, the transit system, the convention center, the development of downtown. I really would love to know what he thinks about the homeless plan today compared to the 12-point homeless plan that he initiated. Where are guys like Bud Clark today? Portland's. Everybody brings this guy up when I talk. When I'm out having a drink at the bar, when you go to a bar, you meet the locals who know what's going on in the past, especially the history of Portland, and his name always comes up. Another thing that came up that I thought was interesting by my friend Pete, he said the city of Portland doesn't have a city manager. That's like standard. You always have a city manager. Is that true? City managers oversee the budget and help with everything. They're like the ones that really run the city. anytime I covered journalism and politics, the city manager was always the person I went to try to talk to about what was going on with finances, and they really got the finger on the pulse. So if this is true that the city has no manager, I'd like to know why. I asked Pete, I said, why wouldn't they have a manager in the city? And he did one of these. I don't know. It looks like something you should look into. So I'd like to talk more with such people. Pete's going to join me on the show, hopefully. He said he would when he's ready to. He's very wants to make sure his T's are crossed and his I's are dotted before he comes on to talk. He's very knowledgeable, and I love to talk to people about the past of Portland because, as a newbie here, I like to understand the history of the city of Portland, where it has been, where it is today, and where it's going. A lot of people just tell me, well, if we're on rough times, but the city will revive itself. There's always a sense of optimism in the city of Portland.
Yeah, it says here the city of Portland has the last remaining commission form of government among large cities in the United States. The mayor, 4 commissioners, the auditor are the city's 6 elected officials.
I think it's time to have a city manager. Another story I read that caught my interest that I just wanted to mention is a lot of people are blaming, local news for spreading virus misinformation. And for that matter, any sort of misinformation that gets out there, they blame it on the media. And it's relevant because a lot of some media talk show hosts say, for example, don't fact check. And then you have scientists and doctors like Sherry Tenpenny. And this is from a New York Times article Monday. An osteopathic physician and vaccine skeptic was recently on Coach Dave Live, a podcast in Ohio aimed at local audiences, misleadingly claiming that coronavirus vaccines disrupt people's fertility. So when people start saying things like that have no science or fact behind them, and they put it on local talk shows and media, people point the finger and say, you shouldn't be doing this misinformation. Meanwhile, Facebook says, they're trying to stop such stuff on their social platform. So when I do a show like with Greg Holler on talking about the Wild Rivers Protection Act here in Oregon, and it gets censored until we put the right heading in that it gets accepted, I wonder, don't punish the truth because of and let the lies get on there. But they say these lies are being still found their way on Facebook and other platforms. And small town newspapers fall victim to it without fact checking. They'll put on a syndicated article or something that has misinformation about the virus, for example. And believe it or not, I was surprised to read that according to the Radio, Television, Digital News Association and Syracuse University, print publications have been decimated, they say, but there are still 1,300 daily papers and 5,800 weekly publications, half of them in small rural communities, according to the research from the University of North Carolina. And as I was mentioning before, the Radio, Television, Digital News Association and Syracuse University said local media remains a significant force. So don't undermine what you do in the local newspaper world. We still have leverage there as newspaper people. Being a former rural newspaper owner myself, I'm glad to see that came out because I wonder about how local news is being disseminated. And it's really critical in rural America. Newspapers. 1,762 local television stations and 3,379 radio stations operate in the United States currently. So that's where we're at with media ownership. 1,762 local TV stations, 3,379 radio stations. And then, like I mentioned, 1,300 daily papers, 5,800 weekly publications. All important outlets to make sure the truth gets out there. More than social media platforms. We forget the bastion of truth is in our local media. If the newspapers aren't getting it right, if the local TV stations aren't getting it right, then it's bad news for the public as a whole. where misinformation can find itself on social media platforms and talk show hosts. Don't ever look to, certain talk show hosts to get the truth.
What?
There are some out there spreading falsities without any concern for the truth. Not this show, mind you. I don't say cuts to the truth for nothing as a slogan.
I wouldn't allow it.
I don't understand, if you're not fact checking as a local newspaper, then you're certainly looking to not spread the truth. It must be intentional. It's easy to fact check. If somebody
Lazy.
says, and also these local talk show hosts that just have a guest on that spread false news and information, they do so intentionally. They know full well it's a lie. And that's very dangerous in today's world with a pandemic and virus that kills. There needs to be more responsibility in such outlets. And I don't understand how anybody could intentionally go out and lie about a deadly virus, whether a doctor, a scientist, or a talk show host, or a newspaper putting an article in. That's a real ethical boundary you're crossing. It's time to get out of the business when you start doing that. And what would be the motivation for spreading lies?
More numbers, more money.
How can a doctor and scientist get out there and spread information that they know has not been fact-checked or science-based? Paid to say it? By who? Questions that I don't have the answers to, because I'm not in their minds, and I don't understand what's motivating such action in today's society. I want to finish with the last thing that has come to our attention with the local news. Didn't have to read it to know about it, but is this illegal street racing going on in Portland. And they had a big 3-hour race in Martin Luther King in the northeast part of Portland. And went on for 3 hours in the middle of the friggin' highway, the road. And they peel around in circles. They drag race. And a police officer went on and said, well, it's kind of scary to have one police officer. You go out there and there's 300 people and cars flying around. So no enforcement. That's where we're at. Last night, I heard it again outside my apartment complex. I live very close to MLK. And there's always cars drag racing at 3 in the morning. They do it like at 3 and 4 in the morning because there's no cops around. And it's, the streets are wide open. And I had no idea, Portland was a drag racing, street racing community. How long has this been going on?
Been going on for a while, actually.
Wow. I hear every one of them outside my window every night at 3 in the morning. I get woken up by the roar of an engine and the skidding out of the tires, peeling out. And there's no enforcement by the police. I have never seen such a lack of enforcement. So if you're not going to enforce it, the word's out in the street. Have at it. There was a guy, it was Sunday afternoon a couple of weeks ago. I was on the terrace cooking a hamburger. And this was midday, 3 in the afternoon. And this guy in the intersection below our apartment complex went into the intersection and started doing donuts. And the smoke was flying, the rubber was burning, and everybody just stopped their cars. And this went on for like a minute and a half. And he went one way, and then he went another way, and then he peeled out and went down the road. And I was like, wow, right in the middle of the day, this is going on. And I see this every single day in the streets of Portland outside my window in a very high residential area. And it shocks me to see it. I was walking down the street the other day, and this woman in a really beat up SUV, I'm not kidding you, she drove right down the street about 70 miles an hour. She's going towards a homeless camp that's in the road underneath the overpass. And she was going so fast, I thought she was trying to kill herself. And there was a person in a wheelchair sitting in the middle of the road, or just left of the middle, at the homeless camp in the street underneath the overpass right over here. This woman went flying down. She hit a little raise in the pavement, and her car leaped into the air 3 or 4 feet, and she flew in the air about 5 to 7 feet, landed, and I swear to God, she missed this person in the wheelchair like that much. I thought she was going to kill her.
She must have been in a real hurry.
She was fucked up in the head, that's for sure. I'm sure she was on drugs. She was like over the wheel like this, and she was like, that night, I believe there was a head-on collision too that killed somebody on the highway. And I'm wondering to myself, was it that woman? Because she was out to either hurt herself or hurt somebody else. And I'm thinking, wow, you got to be careful on the roads in Portland. You know, when I first got here, I was like, oh, they're very courteous drivers. You got to be careful, man. When you walk across the streets in this city, you need to be on your toes, looking both ways. They'll run you over. And there's some crazy drivers out there. And all I could think is this woman is driving with a mission to injure somebody or herself. And I don't know what happened that day with that woman, but I guarantee something bad did. I couldn't believe she didn't get into an accident and run over some people in that homeless camp. There was literally like a foot on either side between how far she came to hitting somebody in the tents. And she knew that camp was there. She was driving straight towards it at 70 miles an hour. I'm serious. It must have been that fast. I thought I was going to see a disaster. I'm so happy that there wasn't a complete, that she didn't kill a bunch of people. There was at least 6 people standing around and the woman in the wheelchair that she just missed going by. So between the drag race and crazy drivers, we got a dangerous street out there in Portland to add to everything else that's going on in the city. The only solution is more police, and they're not out there right now. Otherwise, you take your life in your own hands when you walk around the streets of Portland and riding a bike. I won't get a bike. Forget it. I don't trust it out there. So I would love to talk to the police about that, get them on the show. Again, I would love more guests to talk about these issues and enforcing the rules of the road. Bringing law back so that pedestrians are protected from the lunacy that's going on in the city streets of Portland. So that does it for today's show. We'll end on that note. Be safe out there. I mean it. This is Citizen Smith. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I'm Dave Dahl, creator of Dave's Killer Bread, a well-known, against-the-odds success story. To give back, we built a podcast studio called TalkCast PDX, a state-of-the-art facility to produce your own podcast. TalkCast PDX is a place where every opinion is accepted. If you've ever thought about it, do it. Use your voice and make a difference at TalkCast PDX.